Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. We're glad you're here with us this afternoon. And we have a very interesting topic that we're discussing today. And our speaker is already in the house. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and walk through our agenda. Again, we're glad that you're here and we're looking forward to having a wonderful time. We always have, power-packed sessions. Our sessions are very enlightening. In case you're joining us for the first time, we're glad to have you again. Our topic is the college admissions process. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. My name is Bola Odetokun. I'm the founder of Parenting Resources and Initiatives, and I am your host today. So who is Parenting Resources and Initiatives? We are a faith-based, non-denominational organization, and we are committed to helping families, parents fulfill their God-given role of raising well-rounded children. Our vision is to enable thriving families with excellent parent-child communication in a conducive environment where a child's potentials are maximized. And our mission is to encourage, support, and provide resources for parents so that they can raise the children who will be spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally sound. So basically, all well-rounded children. And we do this through webinars like this. We facilitate retreats. We do one-on-one mentoring with students as well as one-on-one sessions with parents as necessary. Today, our topic again is the college admissions journey, and our guest speaker is Dr. Toyin Mafe. I'm going to go ahead and introduce her, and then I will turn it over to her. So Dr. Mafe is an esteemed scientist, educator, and speaker with an extensive background in chemistry, biochemistry, pharmacology, and education. She currently serves as a chemistry and science teacher at Columbia High School, where she's instrumental in preparing lesson plans, supervising projects, and carrying out regular assessments of student performance. She's also actively involved in the Gifted and Talented Endorsement Program, and she mentors external students for the AP program. I've actually had to shorten her bio because I couldn't fit it into everything, and I didn't want to go into 2-3 pages. But I've tried to condense it into what I think would give us a good perspective, a good understanding of where she comes from and why she's very qualified to discuss with us. So she holds a Bachelor of Science in Applied Biology from the University of, I hope I'm saying this well, Hertfordshire, a Master's of Science in Biochemical Pharmacology from the University of Southampton, and a PhD in biopharmacy from King's College, University of London. Her doctoral research focused on the in vitro metabolic N-oxidation of 2-aminobenzimidazole and certain one-substituted derivatives. Her professional journey: over the years, she has held various positions in academia and research. She worked as a postdoctoral research scientist at the University of North Texas, focusing on neurodegenerative diseases and eye disorders. Additionally, she served as an adjunct professor of chemistry and biochemistry at Paul Quinn College, where she coordinated lectures and taught on undergraduate courses. So she's very familiar with the colleges, with high schools, with gifted programs, with mentoring. So you can see that she's an all-rounder. She's very well qualified to speak with us today, not just as an educator, but also as somebody who has taught at the college level. And of course, as a parent herself, who has walked through the journey of helping children make the right decision. So she, if there's anybody that is well qualified to speak from different perspectives, she's that person. And today I want us to be prepared, with your questions, as maybe the questions that you already came here with, or questions that will come up as she speaks. Feel free to engage with her in the chat. Feel free to raise your hand. She's going to take, engage with us as she speaks, and then there would also be dedicated question and answer time after her presentation. But again, please feel free, put your thoughts, comments, questions in the chat, raise your hand. Once you're recognized, unmute yourself and speak. And I'm sure we're going to have a powerful session today. Over to you, Dr. Mafe.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I should put it that way. Good morning, as I said, good afternoon, everybody. And it's nice to sort of be with everybody. I mean, I may not see your faces, but I know that you are here because you want to get some information and also to be able to understand how the admissions process actually, works, especially in America. First and foremost, I feel that parents should be involved, like 100% involved, especially from the 9th grade, that's the freshman year, into the sophomore year, into the, the junior year. Now, the 9th grade to the junior year are the real grades or the GPA that the recruiting officer is actually looking for. Because by the time they get to the 12th grade, they're in the seniority, upperclassman situation, and they're just doing the last few of the subjects that they need to do to be able to have the core subjects to get the diploma. So most of the time you go from the 9th to the 11th, and that's where the parents should actually have 100% attention, because once those 3 years are gone, they are actually gone. And we need to sort of, be like in the trenches with them to be able to make the right choices at the end of the day. So let me show you, I don't know if I can make it a bit bigger so that we can actually see.
Hey folks, Rob Franek, I'm editor-in-chief here at the Princeton Review, and we are here with our series, Ask Us Anything at the Princeton Review, and you have volleyed many questions our way. The question that we are tackling today is, what do admission counselors who are reviewing our college applications actually look for when they start to evaluate our application? Folks, there are 6 things that are the most important criteria for admission counselors and admission committees reviewing your application. Number 1 on that list, and this does not fluctuate, is going to be your high school transcript and your high school GPA. Folks, your high school transcript is the most revealing, the weightiest document in your college admission application, because it answers this question for admission counselors and admission committees at schools large and small. And that question is, did you challenge yourself in high school? Did you challenge yourself with regular level courses or advanced level courses or AP level courses or IB level courses? What were the opportunities that you had in high school? Did you take advantage of those opportunities? And then obviously, what's your GPA? How well did you have? Number 2 on the list are standardized tests. And we're going to sharpen that. We're going to say the SAT and the ACT, to a slightly lesser degree, AP exams and SAT subject tests. Folks, we're 4,000 teachers at the Princeton Review, a long time teaching the SAT and the ACT. These are deeply, deeply flawed exams. They're also still the gatekeepers, along with your high school GPA, to get you into college. But hear us when we say this. These are incredibly coachable exams, and still the second most important. And even test optional schools, some of them are using those SAT and ACT scores not only for academic admission, but for scholarship dollars. Number 3 on the list is your college essay. Folks, if you're 15 years old watching this video or 95 years old, those open-ended questions, your prompts for those college essays can send shivers of fear down your spine, and you're in good company. But here's the thing. Remember this about your college essay. It's such a singular and such a unique way for you to describe something about yourself to that admission counselor and that admission committee. Folks, your essay should be as unique as you are. Number 4 on the list are recommendation letters. Folks, just 2 quick points about your recommendations. Number 1, follow direction. If a school is asking you for 3 letters of recommendation, don't send them 10. Make sure that you are choosing wisely those folks that are recommending you. So they should be able easily to talk about your character, your values, your perseverance, your grit, your moxie in the classroom and outside. Number 5, demonstrated interest. Folks, the blessing and the curse about living in modern times is that every interaction that you have with a college or university is tracked. Met somebody at a college fair, went for an informational interview, sat in a class, tracked. This is valuable for you to find fit. And also, if that school is going to say, I don't admit you, it would look back at all those interactions. They're going to ask that same question, are you likely to come? And demonstrated interest is where it's at. 6 on the list are your list of extracurricular activities. Just like your essay, folks, your list of extracurricular activities should be as unique as you are. You and I could never have the same list of extracurricular activities. We're different people, and that is the glory of the college admission process. I'm going to leave you with this. As we were saying before, the admission process is a quantitative process in some regard. SAT and ACT scores, your high school GPA. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that the admission process is a very human process as well. Folks, that's our job at the Princeton Review, is to make you confident and savvy about that process. Folks, we have so much more of this information on princetonreview.com.
I saw this, and I know that I've gone through this with my daughter when she was going. We actually went through with Princeton Review with regards to the SAT as well, because she only took SAT, and they were very, very good. So I always appreciate the video when it is done. Now let's start with the whole process that we are actually talking about. So when we talk about admissions process, it's not something that we are going to start like a few months before we actually start your student, your child start actually, applying. It's something that's why it's called a process. It's something that you actually continue from ninth grade. And I'm saying that it's very, very important. From ninth grade, be interested, be motivated along with your child to make sure that you are, crossing the I's and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Because at the end of the day, the time flies so quickly that you do not want it to catch you unawares. And if you're a very diligent parent, I would expect that you're asking questions from the school, you're asking questions from friends, you're asking questions from people who have actually, gone through that path. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. I always tell the parents that don't reinvent the wheel. This information are easily available. It's just accessing them that is the main issue. So what is the time frame? The time frame for admissions process. Now we have what we call early decision. Early decision deadlines, if you feel that that is the school that you want your child to go to. I'm not saying that you should take this, as the main way, to apply, to get the admission process going. But if you feel, and you have talked to so many people, you've had some conversations with the counselors, the advisory committee, you've had talks with so many other friends and even friends of friends that have been able to sort of give you information, then you can go for an early decision, because early decision is binding. Once you make that decision to say that this child is going to this particular school, that decision you make is totally binding. We did that, because what we did was that we went on the college fair. We went on a college journey. We went on a college, what can I call it, visit. So we knew from day one that this was what we were going to do. So that is an advice. It's quite expensive, but if you are prepared to do that, you can do that within 2 years of whatever the year that the child is going to apply. So early decision, I did that with my second daughter. So the application is early to mid-November, and it is binding. So let's quickly go on to the other one. This is the main one that everybody goes through. That's the regular decision. So when you have a regular decision, you can still weigh your options in so many ways. So you have application deadline from early January to mid-February, but you have to give them an answer by May 1st, whichever school that you have actually decided to go to. So the regular decision is mainly for a lot of people who have not made up their minds as to this particular school, this particular college that I really want to attend. Then moving on from there, we have the rolling admissions. Now, rolling admissions are no one particular university that we applied to at the time when my daughter was applying, and that was University of Michigan. Michigan does rolling admissions, all the time. So, but that was a school that Obama's daughter actually went to, So I looked at the school, then I looked at the distance. We looked at how far away we're going to be paying for, transportation back home and all that. So that's all things that we were looking at the time. We never visited the school, so I wasn't very into it at that point in time. So if you want to visit the school, they said the school was very good. I mean, Obama's daughter went there, Sasha, before she went to California to finish it off. So rolling admissions can be for you, because when admissions officers are making their decisions, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks, and they can make that decision and give you. It's not binding. So that is now, for some of us who did not get to the school that we wanted to go to at the beginning, you can actually do a transfer. So if you feel that, oh, I need to go to a 2-year college first and then transfer to another place, or I will go to a university first, and then this particular university is really what I want to go to, you can go in and do a transfer. They also have deadlines. The spring transfer is from November, December, is due in November, December, and then the fall transfer is due April or June. So with all these deadlines in mind, it sort of gives you it makes you to have an informed decision. How do I now help my child through all this process? Do we need to decide on this, or do we need to decide on that? So do we need to make an early decision, or do we need just go through the regular decisions because we are not ready to make up our mind? So that would be something that I would recommend that parents actually, begin to sit with your child. And also it helps the child to know that you are interested in where they're going and what they're doing, so that, you will start ticking off the checklist as to exactly what is happening. So like I said, let them meet with your counselors from 9th grade. Counselors are open to parents. You can always talk to them, because I talk to my counselor like every other week, so to speak. They knew me, so they had a vested interest in my daughter. So that was one thing I did. Extracurricular activities are an important part of high school, so they need to be looking for sports and all that. This is so important. I have students who are in student government. They want you to have something apart from school, apart from the academia. Are you a rounded student? Do you actually have anything outside the school that you are doing? So you're not just doing school. So you have to be involved with leadership roles. There's so many. You have so many clubs, so many sports. If your child is in the sports, obviously, that is very helpful, because then they can be recruited, and that is less money for you. Or you have school clubs, Beta Club, DECA Club, so many other the honors club. You have so many of them like that, and you have community program that they can belong to. Even within the school, you can run community programs, because we give them community forms to fill when we have something like we did the last time. We had a garden, and we actually made the garden for the school, and we planted different vegetables and all that. People from outside, came up as well. So those students were able to help us to plant those seeds, and they were there to actually see it through as it was growing, and then harvesting. So that's part of the community program that we ran in the school at last year. So it looks good on your application that you are doing something for the community, and the community were involved in what you do. And also sometimes you have the food drive. You can belong. They can also have that to belong to, and they give them community hours. So let your students be a little bit rounded, because they're not just going to be talking about, what's your GPA and did you do well in biology? You can see your AP courses. No, they want to see, can you actually function in the school as a student? So summer job is also important. Work-based learning is another one. And, seek out the work. Internship opportunities, let them speak to their counselors. There are loads of internship opportunities. In fact, there's this other ones that we called Upbound program. They just came to my school about 2 weeks ago. And in the summer, they can actually, do so many other things apart from the SAT, ACT, writing essays and all that. They walk them through that. And to an extent, it can be actually cheap. At the end of the day, some of them can be waived in such a way, it's mis-tested in such a way that you don't pay anything. The actual cost for it is $4,375, and you can pay nothing. So there are so many opportunities, so many things that the child would be interested in. And then essays are important. Let them speak to their teachers, to a professional body, compose drafts and let them look at it, and so that you can actually present a good essay. It depends on the schools you are going to. If the school is not an Ivy League school or the school is just a state school, the requirements are different. So in an Ivy League school, you will be writing essays, and you are competing with those who are also coming from outside America. That's what American students don't realize. They're coming from outside America. They're coming from China. They're coming from Japan. They're coming from Australia. They're coming from everywhere into America. And these students are studying round the clock over there. So you will find that a lot of them are actually getting into most of our Ivy League colleges. So there's something that you have to bear in mind, that they are going to be competing with people from outside. Any questions?
And you mentioned, I wanted to be sure I get it correctly. You mentioned an organization that works with students. I didn't catch the name. The one that you said 4,000. Okay.
Upbound.
Upbound. Okay.
Upbound.
Okay. Thank you.
They just came to our school 2 weeks ago to talk about the whole thing that they do. And so you can get in touch with them. Okay. I can even give you the name of the person who came.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have, so the next thing is to know that entering the colleges are not something that you just have to sort of sit back and say it will work itself out. It will not work itself out if we do not work it. We have to work this thing. So we have to now register and take ACT, SAT subjects. Now, what is the case for ACT or SAT? Depending on the school, you have to research the schools. Depending on the school that you're going to, you can, some schools don't take ACT. Some schools take SAT only, and some schools take only ACT. So you have to look at the pros and cons of SAT and ACT. There's been a bit of changes post-COVID. Obviously, I think 2021, they were just making sure that students come to school because majority of them were not going into college. So they were enticing them, with quite a lot of money and enticing them with free tuition. So people were able to get in, immediately after COVID. But then we are now going into another era that is now, reducing that aspect of it, because COVID is now not really with us 100% as it used to be 2 years ago. So obviously there's now increase in the number of students that are actually applying into colleges and not just staying at home or going to work. So there's a case which is more acceptable today. Both of them are okay, depending on which school that particular person wants to go to. Obviously, if you're going to Ivy League colleges, SAT is the only one that they will take. Other colleges will take ACT only, but most colleges will go for the SAT. That is one thing that I've understood from what we've done. So what is the difference between the two? SAT, to an extent, is a little bit more rigorous, especially being that it has a science option to it. You have to do the science part of it. So you have the ACT that you have to complete the science part. And apparently from what I've noticed from going through the ACT, because I taught the SAT and ACT 2 years ago, and from what I can see with ACT, the science section is quite hard. It's quite challenging. So, it depends on whether your child is science inclined. But the SAT, you only have reading, writing and language, and mathematics. And to an extent, it says, I say that there's no calculator for the math section. So that is another thing that you have to look for. And then the timing and the scoring obviously are different. For this, the total points is 36. Most usually when you do ACT, the average on it that I have seen when I taught it was 28 out of 36. That was the average. For SAT, you can start from 1050, and then you can walk up to 600 when you have the essay along with it. One thing I want to say with the SAT is this. If you can get somebody to coach, apart from the fact that, you can get somebody from school, my school, actually, the last school I was in, they were actually doing SAT classes in the school, so it was free. But then, if you feel that, if the timing is not that right for you to be able to go with the school, then you will have to pay for it. It is very expensive. It starts from 1,000 upwards. So that is a lot of money for a lot of parents, whether you are working or not. It's still a lot of money. So if you have an opportunity in the school and they are doing the SAT and ACT classes, please tell your child to actually attend, because it will be very, very helpful. Now, in terms of the SAT as well, the essay is optional in some schools. The essay is optional. That's how it went on to 1,600. And in some schools last year, they were not even taking the SAT scores. They were not not that they were not, they had it because the College Board will send it to them. College Board will always send your SAT scores to the colleges that you have actually showed an interest in. They will send it to those colleges. So if you apply, they will already have your SAT scores. And they were ignoring, I would say, that's what I'm going to use. They were ignoring the SAT at that last year. Whatever is going to happen this year, I don't know. But for last academic year, they were ignoring them, and they were only depending on the GPAs as well as the AP courses, which were the rigorous courses that they were taking. All right. So, colleges like Georgia Tech will not ignore, because Georgia Tech is like our Harvard in Georgia. Okay, let's continue. So I've talked about SAT and ACT, depends on which one that you would want your child to go to. This is something that I got from GeorgiaFutures.org. I've sent it to our host. Many of these things I would also send to her, by post. Now, the SAT covers reading, writing, language, and mathematics, as I said, and an essay is optional. It's not binding. And the ACT covers 4 subjects. Now, a preferred score on the ACT is 36, and the SAT students can retest if you want to, or if you're unsatisfied with your original score. I think you can do up to about 3 for the SAT. You can actually solve. But one thing that's why I underlined it. One thing I want parents to understand is that in the sophomore year and some junior year, students can actually do the PSAT. Usually they want you to do it in the sophomore year. We're actually doing one on October 15th of this month, starting tomorrow. So you do that. PSAT is now also digital. It used to be paper. Last year it was paper. Now it is digital. So now, if you do the PSAT and your child actually takes it so serious and they score high, colleges begin to send information home. Mm-hmm. So I would really want you as parents to sit with the child and say, when the SAT comes up in October, I think between the 10th and the 15th, I will get the right dates. I send it to our host. Between the 10th and the 15th, you sit down, and they'll also give you a pre-test booklet you can take home and actually look through it and actually do a pre-test, a test for yourself, so that you can actually have an idea of how the PSAT runs. Because even with the PSAT, they actually give you merit scholarships. My daughter got one. It may not be to cover your tuition or anything like that, but for that school, that is what is going to happen. So that's part of the package that comes with it. So if you have, that's why I underline it. And if you have high PSAT scores, you are good. You are getting good to go, so to speak. All right. Any questions?
Dr. Mafe, yes, I see somebody's hand is raised, and the question is, I think they put the question in the chat as well. Does the requirement for SAT or ACT change every year, or is it same?
I would not want to say yes or no. The only thing I can say is that post-COVID, because of the attendance rate and because of the number of students that were actually going back to school that was low, they had to have some incentives for the students. But this year, last year, they started, looking at the SAT. Some schools and some schools are looking at it, and some schools were not. But this year, what I would want to say is that I'm going to ask the counselors if they're going to do the same thing. So I will not sort of give you a yes or a no, because SAT should not change. The reason why I'm saying that is that it's from the college board. It's not administered by the universities or the colleges you're going to. Okay? And on their website, from what I've read so far, from what I've seen so far, nothing has changed.
I think he's talking in terms of, from his follow-up question, I think he's talking in terms of maybe the range of scores that are required.
Oh, it's still the same.
Okay.
The range of scores is still the same. Nothing has
And then,
changed.
of course, it varies from college to college, right?
Yeah, both, man. Yeah, both what she answered and also the other one that you mentioned, man. So I was just thinking along that direction on both sides.
Yeah, because when you apply, whatever scores you get is what the college board is going to send there. So it depends on your student or your child, to actually do well on those scores. Now, if the university decides to use that as part of the admission process, then that is on them. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is on them. So I would advise that, if the first time is not that good, let the child take it again. They will always send all the scores to the universities. That is what they do. That's their job. The other one is this. And also, please let your child do the PSAT. I don't know how old your child is right now, but let your child do this PSAT. It's so highly recommended by me. I will say that because I have been through the trenches with my daughter. So I know exactly what it means. The colleges that will be sending information to you, they're top-rate colleges. They're really good. Okay. Now, also another point that I want you to do to help your child is to go and let them take AP courses from College Board. AP courses are so important. When the school I taught before now, the school itself has got over 30 AP classes in the school. So the student does not have any cause to say, I wasn't able to take any AP classes. They have everything. They have the sciences, they have the arts. So I would like you at least let your child do the minimum of 3 AP courses, a minimum, and I mean it. Georgia State, if you want your child to go to Georgia State, I know for sure they take up to 6 to 7 AP courses, AP subjects, for the entry. So since affirmative action is already out of the way now, it's you and your merit. That is it. It's the student's merit at the end of the day. So the AP courses I will gladly recommend. I went through my daughter again. I will say it again. My second daughter, because she was the only one that studied here in America. The other one studied in England. So this she went through the AP because she did 6 AP courses, and on every one, the College Board will when you do the exam. I think the exam is in May, the first week of May every year, and it's done in the school. Every year, the exam is done. The College Board actually sends you, the student, and you, your parent, the parent as well. You can go on College Board and also have your your username and password. I did. You can be with your child with a username and password. You can access every score. You can access everything on the College Board. So I will advise that you do so as well. Now, what I was going to say was that when these scores come in, they rank those students obviously 1 to 5. Most schools will take 3. Very good schools will only take 4 and 5. So take it from me, from someone who has been through the process. Most schools will take 3 because 3 is the first pass rate. Number 1 is recommended, and 3 to meaning 5 is extremely good. For 4 and 5, Georgia Tech will take 4 and 5. Yes, I know that for sure because I know students who actually entered with those grades. So it's important. And also, College Board now sends you our distinguished student, our students with distinction, students with honors, and they can put it on their resume for colleges. And that's what they got from the College Board. And please do not let your students take the AP course in their final year. It's going to be too strenuous for them. Too strenuous. Let them start taking it from their sophomore year and their junior year. Don't go into the final year. Final year, they're not even reading any of the students' transcript anymore. They only read it from the 9th to the 11th grade. That is it. Let us help our children, And also, one of my daughter, she had 15 credits. We did not pay for 1 semester. So those are the sort of things that are helpful for parents to understand that, yes, 15 credits. They were exempted from a whole semester without paying tuition fees. That's what happens.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know that some students will say, oh, they take the classes, but they don't take the test. Does taking the class count for anything if you don't take the test?
Taking the class is really for the diploma. That's really what it is.
Okay.
Taking the test is for the college.
Exactly.
It's really for the college because the college will see, 1, you are able to take AP rigorous courses and you did the test.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an edge over someone who just took the courses and never did anything with it.
Exactly. Thank you.
So that was why I made sure that my daughter went in for the test in the first week of May. That's when they do the AP testing. Okay, so I will advise that take the class. It's rigorous. Yes, they know that it's rigorous. But then someone who is from Japan, who is from India, who is from China, they are taking the class. They are taking the exams. So when they want to wait against that to give you an admission, they're going to look at those who have actually taken because those means that they are able to take the rigorous course. They are able to take the test. You weigh the balance and see how it works. So, like I said before, guide your child through it. Start from 9th grade. I had to learn it a little bit the hard way. I started from 10th grade. Because we just came from England at that time. I didn't understand the system. But having been in education, start from 9th grade. You might look like a nuisance to the counselor. Yes, be a nuisance to the counselor. As far as I'm concerned, my child needs to, I need to know a little bit more so that my child can go to where we, can be suitable for him or her to be able to excel. That is the essence of it all. Mm. So what do you want for your child? Do you just want the child to go to the school down the road, or you have some, particular colleges in mind? We are all aspiring to higher things. So there's some things that we really want for our children, so we must be cognizant of that. So work with them, research the schools with them. Some schools that their friends are going to may not be a good fit for them. So bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. We wanted to go to NYU. We went there, we saw everything. It wasn't a good fit for my daughter. For the simple reason, number 1, it wasn't a good fit for us as well because it was very expensive. So you have to look at that. Even if you are getting scholarship outside the state, even if you got scholarship, they're not going to pay for everything. Then think of the child coming and going from NYU to here. It's a fantastic school. Don't get me wrong. Do you know that now my daughter is doing an MBA in NYU? We didn't go for the first degree, but now she's doing my MBA there. So you can see that, that there's some dynamics you have to think about, especially in the area of finance. In the area of finance, it is very important. The scholarships running, and speak to the recruiters. You can actually call the school and ask them what have they got, what can they offer your child, especially when you've got something to hold on to. Their GPA is high, they're doing AP courses. You are going to now defend your child.
Negotiate.
Negotiate, exactly. You defend that child and say, look, this is what we've got on paper. Those are sort of things that, I didn't know at the time until my sophomore year. I said, oh, Lord. But then I started working on it. Okay. And now that I'm in education, I know it works. Okay. These are the guiding your child through selecting the right college. These are straight from the government. This is not something that, you can just browse the website for. No, these are straight from the government, so that it gives you an informed decision. It makes you to know what is going on. So you have Apple Ruth, you've got Georgia Futures. Georgia Futures is amazing. Please go on to it. Choosing a college and college money matters. Go on to that as well. Benefits of a college degree, read through that as well. FAFSA, Ampere Grant, student aid, everything is with the government. So don't be ignorant of what you could know before the child starts applying and what sort of things you can apply for. So these are the ways you can actually start guiding, because college is expensive. Whether they are giving you the Hope Grant or not, or the Miller Grant, whichever grant they've given you, it is still expensive, because there's some grants that will not pay for particular things. So there are things that you can actually sort of know in advance. Let's go to the next one. So there are sort of things that I got straight from the counselors that I work with in my school. The government section, that I've got loads of leaflets here, which I want to put. I will put in the mail to the host, and she can go through it. And it's all Georgia Student Finance Commission. Since we're still in Georgia, that's the Finance Commission for them to help.
Well, we are not all in Georgia, so I would encourage people here who are not from Georgia to please research it and then find maybe the equivalent for your own state.
Yes, I was going to say that, man.
Okay. Another thing that I want to, if it's GeorgiaFutures.org and all that, what I found is that when I was researching this, other states also have something similar.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found in my research. But I could only get this information because I live in Georgia. That's all. Other ones, if you go through there, and it has to be government. Go through the government, the .org, the organization. Go through the government one first before you start delving into the other. And
I want to say that your school counselor, irrespective of the state, the school counselor, every school has an admissions counselor, most schools anyway. They'll be able to give you information on where to look. They have loads and loads of resources to share with you, but only if you ask. They're not going to become running after you, because they have a lot to do,
that's what I said. So be a nuisance. That's what I use, that word nuisance. Just be a nuisance. They always see my face. So what's new? What have they done today? I can't remember her name now. She went to Marcos High School when we were in Texas. I was always going into the school. And they all, by the time I was there for about, maybe about 3 months.
They know you.
The janitor knew my name. The janitor knew my name, so because I was new in the country. And once I'm new in a place, I do not want third-hand information. I want straight information.
Exactly.
What does the school do? I do not want you to be telling me, oh, you can go there. No. Let me go straight to where the source is. So I will advise that you do the same, because that's what I did. And that was in Texas. That was not even in Georgia. Okay. So you have college and university, community college, technical college, trade school, military, and apprenticeship. We have the military. I'm going to talk about a little bit because of the ROTC. I don't know whether you have your children in ROTC, but one thing I've written here is that the schools can come to you or you go to them, or you can do both. Last year, we ran quite a lot of college fair, loads of college fair, and schools even outside of Georgia were coming in.
Mm.
Okay, because they need recruitment. They need students to come to their school. You can take it from the Ivy League school all the way down to HBCU schools. They all came all with their stands, and the students were able to talk to them. So I'm not sure whether each individual place where you're coming, where you have your students actually attending right now, run such fair. We did. We do. In fact, we do it every year. So it's something that I'm very so. If you, and I said, if it's affordable, go on a tour, go on a college tour. Research this the thing if it's affordable, because for most people it may not be. And then get current students take on college, and then ask them questions. It might not be a good fit for your child. It might be a good, like I said, for the NYU. It wasn't really a good fit for her at that time, but now she's even back in the school. So those are the sort of things that you have to think about when you are going in for all these schools. You have to be very careful, because once the child gets in, you don't want to be moving the child back and forth and making transfer. I have nothing against transfer students, but once the child is in the school, I would prefer that the child finishes with the school. So that's what you should bear in mind. Public versus private school. That is a big question. So I have outlined exactly what we mean by public, and what we mean by state, and what we mean by private. When it's public, my daughter went to a public school, University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. That's where she went. Now, I had to choose that for my first daughter, who went to a private school. We realized that the private school was quite expensive. So what does this public school do for us? Basically, some people might not like the public schools, but it depends on your pocket. At that point in time, public schools is federally funded. Straight from the White House, straight from Congress. They give them the money. They use it for the school, and they also give them more than the money. Because some of them can even go and study abroad, and if they've never, if they're the first child in that family to actually go to college, first child to actually get a diploma and all that, they give them free of charge. One of my daughter's friend actually went on a 10-week
Study abroad.
Apart from the 10-week one, she also went in for, they gave her money to actually travel around. You see, these things are available. At the time, we didn't know, at that time. So when it came to my second daughter, I said, "You are going to a public school." You are going to a public school. Because at the end of the day, UNC Chapel Hill is an amazing public school. It's on the same rank with UC Berkeley. It's on the same rank with UCLA. So we are looking at those colleges, and we went in for this one. It's cheaper than private school, but then some private schools actually give you quite a lot of scholarships, depending on which one you are applying to. I know that for sure. So that is one. It is less expensive. So state schools is funded by the respective states, and the respective states have money. It's got to be used for that. And it's very affordable. Georgia State is one, Albany State is another. So those are the sort of things that we're talking about. It's funded by the state, it's funded by the taxpayers, it's funded by the grants that they get from other organizations, and the state funds it 100%. That's why it's very cheap. Now, private schools, they live by endowment. Most of the time, people put in their money in there as an endowment, as a way of helping a whole department, a way of helping a whole what do you call it, a program that they're running in the school. So they have that endowment money in there, and that makes them rich. But then most of the endowment money is not for scholarships. It might be for some other programs that they're running, but they're usually very expensive. Also, they may be expensive, but you can still speak to the recruiting officers. You can still speak to them, and they could waive the tuition in your case, depending, and it could be means tested. So depending on how much you're earning, the child can go there, you know. But the only problem is that, you know, when talking about accommodation, maybe you will have to pay for that. Talking about transportation back and forth outside the state, maybe you have to pay for that. Now, let me say one thing about public schools. Most public schools, like University of Georgia, like the UNC Chapel Hill that my daughter went to, most of these public schools take 90% of the students in the state. That is part of the funding that it gives them. That's the caveat that goes with the funding. So they take 90%. Now, the remaining 10% are outside the state. It means then that there will be like a little bit of a competition for your child to be able to get in. You know, because if the child is coming out of state and wants to come to University of Georgia in Athens, then that means the person has to really compete with those who are already in the state. So that's the only snag about it. But if your child has got a good GPA, she's got rigorous courses, AP courses, and all that, you know, she stands a good chance. So, but we were coming from Texas, and my daughter got in out of those 10%, out of the 10%. So it's possible. That's what I'm trying to say. It's very, very possible. Now, this, on average, annual cost of college, if it's public is cheaper than private, but state is about the cheapest on the long run. And that's why you have a lot of students. I'm not even sure what the enrollment is for Georgia State right now. Georgia State has got a very high enrollment number, very high, because it's cheap. It's cheap for the parents, it's cheap for the student. They've got a very high enrollment rate right now. So these are some of the things that we are talking about for year in state. If you are in state, cost of tuition and the cost of attending the whole 4-year course. So I'll run quickly there, and then you have the annual cost of college that is private, so you can see the jump in the amount of money. It's even more because this was, I think, was 2022. So I don't know how much it will be this year. Because my niece that went to Duke University was paying $60,000 a year. And I said to the mom, I know she loves Duke. I know they gave her a little bit of money. I know that. I said to the mom, $60,000. You know that you can buy 2 properties and actually rent it out. I was just a joke. She looked at me and she said, you are so miserly. No, I said, no, because frankly speaking, are they teaching with gold? Is there chalk gold? No. And to think that UNC Chapel Hill and Duke University actually are very, very close in the alignment of their courses. My daughter was going to Duke to do some classes in there, and some from Duke were going into UNC to do classes in there. They are really close. And UNC Chapel Hill has got a fantastic medical school. Really good medical school. So, I mean, when you look at, that's why I said you need to research with your children, with your students. Just research with them. Research with them, you know, on the long run. You know, do you really want to be paying $60,000 a year? My niece was paying the family, the parents were paying $60,000 a year. That's a lot of money. That's $240 for 4 years. That is a lot of money. So we have to sort of rethink all this information. Financial aid and loans. Again, I would want you to go into your particular state website for financial aid, and they have different ones for different states and how you can apply. So financial aid is money given to the student and they don't have to pay back. It's just to help them, you know. So you have you can receive financial aid by way of merit or need. So depending on whether your income is low, so it could be means tested in that area. So you have the Pell Grant. The federal Pell Grant is all, that's why it's called federal. It's all over the nation. It's all over the nation. You have a Pell Grant, anybody can get a Pell Grant. Now, you have loans, subsidized or unsubsidized loans. I would not advise that people will be taking so many loans unless you go to Ivy League colleges where you really need to take those loans, because it's quite expensive. So they could be subsidized and unsubsidized, but then you will have to sort of speak to the people who are going to give you the loans. I can't speak for them because that's not my line of my strength I haven't got that strength in the financial aid section. They can be able to do that. Then you have direct plus loans, which the parents can take out on behalf of the student. I would not advise that. I would not advise it, but if you have to, then you do. But I would not advise you to do that. Let the child take it out, because there will be incentives for the child to actually reduce the loans as time goes on. All right, so I would prefer that you do not take out any more loans than it is necessary. Then the FAFSA, obviously everybody does FAFSA. So you submit as possible, after October 1st. You must submit as soon as possible. This one I will send to, this is mainly for Georgia. I don't want to start including I saw some other ones as well, but that sort of gives you a rundown of the federal financial aid as well as the Georgia financial aid program. So it gives you a comparison of the two. So the other states will also have the like if you have Texas financial aid programs, then you have some other states like that, Alabama and so forth and so on. So this is just comparing what you will get on both sides. I will not be able to let them see all that. So with regards to Georgia, we have the Hope Scholarship. And in Georgia, parents, I wouldn't want to say the word kill, but parents really want their children to get a Hope Scholarship. They really want it. It's like, applying for it. The other scholarship is the Zell Miller Grant, which I would send also to, that's for those of us who are in Georgia. For those of us who are not in Georgia, then obviously there will be ones that we can actually have from other states. But we have these ones from here that we can apply for. The next one I want to talk about is, this one is, I will send it to the host as well. This one is online free scholarship. It's free. It's online. And I think I sent an email to you.
Yes.
Yes. So you can access this one. Is free scholarships. Free, and I mean free. So you can actually access it and and look for quite a lot of financial assistance from all this.
Well, Dr. Murphy, I think you should clarify that free scholarship so that parents don't think that, once I just apply, I get it. Many of them have requirements and you have to meet those requirements.
Okay. When I say free, in other words, you don't have to sort of go through hoops to be able to get onto their website. Right. Now, for many of them, you have to write an essay. For some of these ones, they will give you more or less what sort of essays that you need to sort of write to be able to. And then for some of them, you will need to get some recommendation from your teachers or from any other professional that can actually recommend you. And the professional from the one I just did for someone, no, that was in the spring semester. I did for someone. I personally had to answer particular questions. There were about 5 that I have to answer on behalf of that student. They told me to write nothing less than a paragraph on each one. So for some of them, yes, you will need to do that. Some of them you have to have an essay as well. But you don't pay for them in terms of paying for the application and things like that. That's what it is. And then other scholarships are obviously the Gates. The Gates one is, everybody knows about that, is federal. You can apply. To an extent, it's means tested, as far as I can see. And also the GPA must be, I think it starts from 3.2.
I think,
Yeah, for the GPA, it starts from 3.2, and you can apply. But if you can afford it, you will not get the GATE scholarship. That's the way I see it. It's really to help those who cannot really afford to pay for college. That is the essence of what Bill and Miranda Gates actually set it up for. So they do. If you're a child of a millionaire, obviously you're not going to be applying for this. That's basically it. So if you really have good, what do you call it? How can I call it? You have a well-paying job, because then they would want to see your tax return with regards to that. So those are sort of things that they will look into. Another one is Ron Brown. I will love you all. I've made recommendations for students for Ron Brown scholarship. I've made I've written what do you call it? Recommendations and references. I've done a lot with Ron Brown scholarship. It's a long one. You have to complete for the student, but it is worth it. It is worth it, because that's a very good one that I have personally been involved in. Okay. And then you have the Black Caucus Foundation scholarship as well. You can apply through, that's straight from Congress, and you can apply through them as well. But I wrote at the end, speak to recruiters in colleges and college fair, because they do also have in-house scholarships that they don't actually advertise outside. They do. We're a recipient of that. They have insight that they can be able to help. Because if you don't say anything, they also don't say anything.
They don't say anything.
You see, be a nuisance. Yeah, just be a nuisance. That's the word I always use. Just be a nuisance. Ask as many questions as you want to. Because then it's showing them that you have an interest in their college.
That you have an interest, yes.
That's what it's showing them. That's what we did for UNC Chapel Hill. We had an interest in the college. So once they realized that, after the early decision was binding, that, okay, what can you offer? This is what she's called. Right.
And if I may add, Dr. Mafe, yeah, just to buttress what you're saying, even when you're offered admission, you can still ask. I remember that for my daughter's first degree, after she was offered admission, I told her, go and ask for money, because we were looking on their website, and we just accidentally saw on the website where it says students advised to review their packet, and if they feel they need extra money, they should talk to somebody. Excuse me, where I want to, I went through, I got the information, I told her, and guess what? We got extra $11,000 per year. That's $44,000 that we got just by looking on the website. Even after the admission packet was offered, we were just looking, and we got she emailed the person. She told them, look, I have extenuating circumstances. My mom supports her own mom. My mom supports this and all of that. And she wrote that email. They asked her one or two other questions. They said, we'll get back to you in 48 hours. And they did, with $11,000 per year for 4 years, $44,000 extra.
That's it.
And that means that parents, like Dr. Mafe said, be a nuisance. Look for information. Don't sit on your ass. Nobody's going to throw money at you. You have to go find it by asking questions, by looking on website, by reviewing stuff.
That's exactly what we did, because we had an early decision. By January, we knew where she was going. Okay, we know where you're going. We know what FAFSA can give us. We know what this one can give us, or the other scholarships that we apply to. I began to speak. I began to open my mouth and say, okay, now she's got what do you call it, AP courses. She's got the test. She's got the scores. She's got 3, 4, 5. She had it. She had everything. She's part of the what do you call it, student government in her school. In fact, she was a judge, because they have students, teen judge in Texas at that time. So you can actually apply. I said, apply, apply,
Yes.
and be on it for community service. Apply. They want to see things like that. So we had all that paper. Oh, she walked through UNC with them. We were paying for her to come home, and those are the things that we paid for eventually. But then they were able to solve help us with the money. So even after she had already said she was coming, just like you said, so at least I have a case in point that I can actually say, this is what happened to us. You have the 529 savings. If you, we were not able to do all that until very late. Since once you give birth to your child, start saving. That's what this means. Start saving. Just put some money aside for college. It's meant for college, and there are two kinds. You can have a prepaid tuition plan or education savings. Oh, sorry. You can have two prepaid tuition plans and or education paying plans. All states, and I wrote it here, all states and District of Columbia sponsor at least one time. All states, including the District of Columbia, since it's not a state yet. It's representation by, I can't remember what they put on their number plate. Something representation by election or something like that, because they're not a state. They have it on the number plate, So you have opportunities left, right, and center, but like the host and I are saying, please talk. Talk to them. Talk to them. Explain your situation. Explain ask them what things are required and all those things. They are there to sort of help, but most of the time we just feel that they're in the little office and they don't want to talk to anybody. Yes, they can talk to you. If you request an audience, they will give you one. Now, I want to. I know that some of us don't want to go into ROTC or anything like that. We don't want to be a military person. I don't want my child to die in service and things like that. You have all those things. But Reserve Officers Training Corps, which is the ROTC, have scholarships. They do. You can join them and leave them. It is not binding. You have a lot of people from the sophomore year, they go into the junior year. In fact, the person who got the highest scholarship of over 250, this is not a joke. This is not making stories up. Over $250,000 in scholarships. I am not joking. It's never been done in that school. Was also a member of ROTC. So it doesn't mean that you are going to be there for life or anything like that, but you can still go and see what they've got for you to offer. So by committing to it, if you commit to it, that's fine. If you don't commit, that's fine. But they have 100% tuition and fees coverage. And you're going in as an officer. You're not going in as any little person. But then that's what you call it. Depends on the family and whether or not they want to take up that offer. So personal expenses are paid for, and $1,200 per year for books. That's one thing I didn't mention in some tuition do not pay for books in some colleges. You will have to find out the books you will have to pay for the books yourself. Some tuition do not pay for books. They just pay for you attending the school, attending the classes, and that's it. They don't pay for books. So sometimes you will have to find out how you're going to start paying for books. So those are the sort of things that you can look into. That's ROTC. Now, the new ruling on affirmative action, I wrote that does not exist anymore. It doesn't. We don't have it anymore. There was a Supreme Court ruling. It has been on for 45 years after allowing Americans universities to give limited consideration to race in admissions. So if you're Black, if you're, I think to an extent, it was really towards the Blacks. Yeah, it was really for the Blacks, but now one way or the other along the line, they changed it to the Hispanics. And then it was actually really was meant for the American Indians. They were putting reservation settlements because they found, in fact, many of the people that are now being targeted so much for the Bill Gates one are the American Indians. They're being targeted for scholarships. The American Indians, yes. Because they've done them a disservice and they can see that they've done a big disservice. So they really do give them a lot now because they don't attend colleges. So there's affirmative action programs in higher education a 6-3 majority concluded and said it violates the equal protection. I had to write it down. Equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment. That was how it was dissolved. It was just dissolved. So now it's on your merit. It's not because can't you say I'm black? It's no longer because I'm black. It's not nothing like that. So now HBCU will now have an increase in enrollment because many of the black students were going into the schools that were having affirmative action, and they don't need to have affirmative action because they're black schools anyway. So I don't know whether there's an increase in applications and enrollment, but that's what the pushback will be. Okay. Finally, this, even though it says ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, it is not that your child is going to go into the military. That is not what it is. It is designed to assist all students, whether they are planning on going into the military or not, or joining the military to immediately out of high school, to help them, to help to figure out which careers they would enjoy, excel at, and it is free. I'm just putting that there. You can do it. I think it's like a test questions that they have, and you can do it, and you ask if the test is available at your school. It's just for the child to know, am I a college person right now? Or if I'm a college person, what are my interests? What do I really want to go and do in college? And you know that American colleges, first year, everybody does everything. Everybody does everything. You all do everything together. Mm-hmm. Second year, you might want to say, okay, maybe I should go into this one. Even if you entered in with economics, you could end up doing chemistry. Mm-hmm. That's the flexibility.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, that's the flexibility of the education in America. And I love it. So you're not bound by one department. I've got to go with this. That was what I went through in the United Kingdom. They're now getting a little bit more flexible now. You can change departments. Over here, you can start with full science and then end with economics. You can start with political science and end with anything else. So there's a beauty in the education system in America.
I have a question. So I know you mentioned the importance of college tours, and I agree because I've seen, at least with my two children and with other children that I've worked with, some families that I've worked with, I've seen that when they went for the college tour, the odds that seem to be stacked against them all of a sudden were no longer there. Because now they met face to face, they were able to interact and all of that. But we also know that sometimes it's because of financial reasons, parents are not able to do college tours and all of that. What would you advise for parents to do instead if you are not able to afford the trips? Because the trips can be expensive. Even when they're within your state, sometimes they are 5 hours, with the schools are 4 or 5 hours and all of that, and they're not able to attend. What would you advise parents to do?
Ask the counselors if they're doing a college fair in the school. And usually what happens is that they do one in the fall. They should do one in the fall if the school has got a very, very strong counselor department with teachers. Last year, that's what we did. There were 2 teachers that were running the thing along with the counselors. So the school can come to the school, the colleges can come to the school.
To the high school.
To the high school, yes. And it doesn't cost the counselor's department anything. In fact, they'll be so glad to do that because then the students are able to complete forms and talk to the recruiters one-on-one and actually, understand it. And if they don't do it in your school, the ones I've attended, if they don't do it in your school, there are other places where they actually have the college fair that you can attend. I can't remember the name of the place that we went to about 2 years ago. And we went there, we took the bus, and we took the students there. So the most important thing is to know, is to ask the counselors, even if they're not doing it in your school, are there other places
that you can recommend?
that you can actually recommend for me and my daughter to actually visit so that we can actually go there? You know, because if the school doesn't come to you, if they cannot go to the school because of one thing or the other, you can let the school come to you, or you can visit within the school program. That was what we did. We had first, second, and third period for us to go there, and it was not only our school; other schools came as well.
Mm-hmm.
So those programs are running. They run them. It was here that in the schools that I'm teaching that it was done. So we were able to go with them. We have to have them. We have to prepare lunch for them, obviously. You know, arrange all that as teachers and all that. And then we have chaperones as well. You know, other teachers to come along with the students. And it was quite an outing for them. So that's one thing I would recommend. But short of that, if you are interested in particular schools, you can speak either to people who have actually gone to the school, one, because there are quite a few students who have actually gone to the school and they've actually, you know, graduated from the school. That's one. Or you can call the school and ask to. But one thing I want to advise you on is that when I did that, I had the questions ready. So you're not fumbling, you know, to ask questions, because then they would think you're not serious anyway.
Serious, yeah.
Yeah. So have the questions that you want to ask the school. We cannot visit for one, two, three reasons, but can you please either ask the questions right there and they answer you right there, or they give you, okay, can we schedule a time that we can have a conference with you?
Mm-hmm.
But if you do not ask, and recruiters want to recruit. That's their job. And so if they know that you're interested in the school, they will take the time to talk to you. So those are the things I can
Thank you. And I see a question in the chat here. Someone says, Abby says, when should you start college tours?
I would advise that if your child takes the PSAT, the interest from schools starts appearing around October. You'll find that colleges have started sending information from the different schools around October. They will bombard you with it.
But I think maybe they mean like maybe what grade?
Oh, grade. Oh, okay. I would ideally, because 9th and 10th graders are still young in understanding what the process is really about. I would think 11th grade.
Okay.
That would be better, because they will be more matured and to be able to understand what they're actually going into.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in the junior year, definitely.
Yeah.
And when you're doing the junior year, make it a little bit earlier and spaced out if you can afford it. Let it be spaced out. And if you're going to a particular area or region, let's say you are going to the East Coast, don't just take one school and then come back home. That would be
do as many schools in that area as possible.
In that area, just make sure that, and also make sure that they are not on holiday, because college holidays sometimes can be quite different from ours in terms of our high school. So make sure that they're there, and also talk to the recruiters in advance, and just don't let them know that you are coming to the school yet, but want to know the dates that they are available. They'll be able to tell you. The ones that when we went to NYU, we went to, what's that place called again? This other university, she didn't like it. The minute we walked in, she said, "Mom, I'm not coming here." I'll try to get the name. We had at least 3 or so that we went around. But when we went to NYU, loads of parents were there. So we're even able to talk to parents. That's the beauty of the college tour.
And compare notes,
And compare notes, And some of them were from East Coast, the West Coast. Some of them were from California, all the way to New York. And then make it a holiday, make it a small vacation as well. That's what we did.
Exactly. Make that your vacation for that year.
Yeah, just make it a small vacation, and visit some other places. That's why we went to the Empire State Building. From there we went to we went around the shops. We went to Fifth Avenue. Things like that. Yeah, make it a small vacation. Make it nice. Make it enjoyable.
Thank you. I see a few questions here. One says, did you have any other surprises on the college journey? If so, can you share with us? That's the first one. I have two more. Do you want to take that one first?
I guess the one thing that I didn't, when you talk about campuses, I was expecting in some colleges that we went, the campus to be really like in more or less in the same area.
No.
So that we will have to take a class over there, and then they will take it. I said, "Oh, okay. So you're walking all over the place, on this campus. No, what do you? You will ask your child, what do you think? Would you like to be going up and down? For the campuses, and then, I wouldn't call it a surprise. I expected some lecturers to be there, some professors. It's not a surprise, but if we're interested, I was expecting, apart from the recruiters, maybe one or two to just talk to us about anything. So we only had the recruiters, and it was a bit boring for some of them.
Okay. Maybe that's that particular. So I took a group of students to Kennesaw State maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Kennesaw State University here, and they actually had sessions where faculty staff, professors, dean of students had to speak with them. So they had those sessions, and I think like each one would be like you could have 2 or 3 slots. So you can sign up for which slot works for you, and then you move to the next one. So you got the opportunity, and then there was also a session where they had current students take them on a tour of the hostel. So I think it just depends on the school. But this one was an all-day thing, and they actually even offered them the opportunity to have lunch in their cafeteria for free. So I mean, parents, we can, like we are saying, we can make a vacation out of this. Just plan ahead, plan very well, and look at various schools, what they are offering. But I can say that I've taken students up to some schools that actually offered interactions, yes, with faculty staff, so that you can ask about the academics, you can ask about the fin aid, you can ask about, dorm, room and board, what is the food like, and all of that, So for many schools, it's a whole package, and you can expect to do one full day. Just expect that you are spending your full day there,
Yeah.
So there's another. Okay, go ahead.
To add on to that, UNC had that. Exactly what you just talked about. We had different sessions and all that, and we were there. Actually, they called the students back. Those who had already expressed their interest that they're coming. They had 2 days just for them to enjoy the school.
Mm.
So it depends on, like you just said, it depends on the school. But some they were either ill prepared. They were not, which is a downside for them, because some people might be interested in coming to that particular school. So, but for UNC, we had that, in fact, the 2 days was unbelievable, just for students.
That's good. So the next question says, I'm sorry, let me read that again. The person, all parents should hear or see this info. What was you or your child's most or greatest challenge? And then the second question, let me read that as well, is do you have any scholarship information for graduate students? So one person wants to know what was the most or greatest challenge, and the second one, any scholarship information for graduate students.
Okay, the greatest challenge for my daughter, you can't compare children, obviously. My older one, very creative, very, just dive into essays, dive into this, dive into that. For my second one, it has to be a case of coaching. Okay, this is helping her to write those essays, to actually, be committed to this and that. I mean, now she's doing so well, but then those were the teething problems that we had. So when you have children, do not compare what the first one did. Oh, but your sister was able to do. No. That was a real challenge for me. So that when I come back from work, we're sitting down with different topics of essays and giving it to me, and then I'll give it to another person to actually read that, because I cannot do everything and understand everything that there's some other things that she could put in and somebody else could be able to help. So that was a big challenge for us because the school she was applying to required her to send in essays.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because actually that's something that I wanted to talk about, but it skipped my mind. Because parents, please let's not limit the essays to ourselves or to the children alone. Because some of those things, the way they want it written, the questions, they're big, they're huge. And don't think that, oh, my child is smart, so she can do this on her own, or he can do this on her own. No, because I know that it's illegal to go and get professional writers to write it for them, but you can get coaching. You can have somebody that will proofread it and give them inputs, even on the layout, on the content and everything. Subsequently, ultimately it's their essay, but we need to guide them, we need to help them, and we need to look at the timelines, look for grammar, look for layout and things like that. Because again, like Dr. Mafe said earlier, they are competing with students from all over the world. And you have to put your best foot forward. So please don't leave your child alone to struggle with their essays. Help them, and if you can't help them, get them help, get professionals in that area, in that maybe where they're interested in, whatever the hint or the topic is about that they're writing an essay. Find somebody who can address that very well, to help them, to coach them, to sit with them, to proofread for them over and over again until you yourself can say, oh wow, I'm impressed about this. If you are not impressed with it, don't expect that those who are really impressed. No. So I think the next one is the graduate scholarship.
That one for the private institution, I didn't get enough information from the private one, but I can always send one to you. I don't have one right now. I know someone who can actually sort of send it to me, because our daughter is in the private school right now, so she can be able to get that information. But right now, I do not have scholarships for private children going to private schools. But
not private school, graduates.
Oh, graduate schools. I said private schools.
Graduate students.
I would have thought that many of the information I gave you, it also applies to private schools anyway. But when you talk about graduate schools, that one is because right now my daughter is in a graduate school. She has applied for FAFSA. They will give her the little amount that she's getting. Now, she's going to, we advised her not to go full time. She was going to leave her job and go full time. We advised her to go on a part time. Still keep her job. It's a good job. She's doing very well. She's being promoted there. Keep your job and ask if the job can be able to sponsor some part of it, and they do. Ask them if they can sponsor some part of it, so that you can, they may not give you all of it, but at least, and then they'll probably put a caveat there and say, you will need to work for another 2 or 3 years to, with us, because you cannot just get your graduate degree and
then run away.
Yeah, so there will probably be a caveat to it, which is what she's doing right now. So they're paying some of the money, and she's, she's got the FAFSA, and then she's had some money on the side to be able to help her. In terms of if you are doing it full time, it is expensive. It is too expensive. And also the scholarships are very far and
they're limited.
They're limited. So if the child can do it part-time and she's able to handle it on both sides with work, I would advise that. The scholarship, wow, you will have to speak to the school. Why? Because my older daughter did it that way. You see, you learn as you go along. So all our what do you call it? All our pitfalls is what I'm telling you right now. My first daughter went to Georgetown University. Georgetown University is expensive. She got half scholarship through the school. So you could imagine that we were paying for the rest of it. So that's my first daughter. I said, for this one, my dear, you've got a job. Speak to them there. Let them talk to them and see how they can be able to help you. And if they can, apply for FAFSA and move on. Do part-time. It's cheaper. Now the MBA is 2 years part-time. She's doing it 3 years. 2 years full-time. She's doing it 3 years part-time. She's almost done next year, by God's grace. That's the advice I can give.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. All right, I think this is a good place to bring our discussion to a conclusion. If there's no other question, I'll just ask Dr. Mafe to give us one last, okay, I see another one coming in.
I just posted one.
Okay. And what do you advise for parents that their earnings will not allow their students to qualify for scholarships?
Is that from Mr. Iku?
Smart.
Oh, that is the $1 million, about $1 trillion question that you just asked. It's a very, very tough thing for a lot of parents. Education in America is gone way off the chart, so to speak, in terms of finance, and has put a lot of burden on the parents, a lot of burden on the students themselves. So if the money cannot be, I will advise. I know you all love Ivy League colleges. I know you do. I do. I love it. Yes, my child is graduating from Ivy League college. My child is graduating from one of the top universities. I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, if it's going to put that much strain on the child and that much strain on you,
the parents,
you have to go back to the drawing board and say, what will be okay for us? Because you have not got one child in most cases.
That's true.
You have not got one child in most cases. You are probably 2, 3. So if at this point in time they do not make the dean's list where they could be paid, where the money, a lot of money can be put into their coffers, and actually they can pay the tuition and some parts of the accommodation. They have not got a full ride in sports where everything is paid for, and all they have to do is just show up.
Yeah.
Which is basically what it is. And they have not actually sort of got a school where they are looking at you and saying, it's means tested, we will help your parents and you, and we'll give you like about 90% of your tuition and board. If you are not in all those categories and you still have 2, 3 children to actually pay for, and you've not started the 529 savings, I think you need to go back to the drawing board and see what fits the family on the long run. You still got mortgage, you've got rent, you've got bills. I mean, you have to sort of put it on paper and see whether or not the finance is going to meet the needs of your family as well as the need of that child. If she calls you or he calls you from the school, Mom, I need to buy, Mom, I need, Dad, I need to do, and you cannot afford it, it's going to be a strain on her. Then she will have to go and work. Yes, you can work in college. You can work inside college. My daughter did it. You can work inside college, but that is because she wanted to, not because she's forced to. 2 different things, because you cannot afford to do that. So I would suggest, that was why I said, my first one went to private. I said, no, you can manage public. Look at she's got an MBA. She's going to get an MBA from a good university, NYU, next year. So go back onto the drawing board and see what actually you can afford financially and what the school can give financially. See what the difference is and the deficit is. If the deficit is more than the, what do you call it? What's the difference? What's the difference? If it's not deficit, it's profit. If you're not profiting from it, then go back to the drawing board. That is my big advice. Because at the end of the day, the interest rate on these loans, the interest rates on these things that are taken out, you may not be able to finish paying it in 10 years. Case in point, our previous president, President Obama, he was still paying student loans in the first year.
In his first year.
Presidency, he finished paying it. He finished paying the student loan in his first year of his presidency.
Serious.
That's it, exactly. That's serious.
Thank
Something
you, ma'am.
I would like parents to also consider is going through community colleges first, the first 2 years, because they are like 60% cheaper than universities. So, and there's nothing wrong with them. So if you might also want to consider that, let your child go to a community college for the first 2 years and then transfer to university for the, for the remaining 2 years. So that way you might be cutting from 40,000 to 20,000 or even to 15,000. So instead of paying 40 per year for 4 years, you pay 15 or 20 for the first 2 years and then the remaining 2 years. And hopefully during that period, you're able to put some money aside. I know it's not easy to put some money aside, but like Dr. Mafe said, we have to go back to the drawing board and see, what can we do, because of course the alternative is not to go, but that's not a reality for us. We are not, that's not a route that we are encouraging. We want to send them to college, but we have to realistically see how we can afford it. What are the options available? So community colleges are a good alternative if, we really have a money crunch, a cash crunch.
So that's what I mentioned earlier on, because when you, I think I did it, I'm not sure where.
Yes, it was on one of your slides.
Right.
It was on one of your slides.
Yeah, it's on this one. Community college, technical college, it depends. One thing I always say to parents is this: I know Nigerians, especially Nigerians and some other African countries, and maybe some other ones that are outside the African countries. Yes, we want our children to be educated, and educated to a high level. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong. We value education, and I appreciate that. But valuing education at the expense of your finance, of your life, of your well-being, it's going to be in terms of the fact that you are now raising the bar too high for you to be able to maintain. You are probably going to take 2 or 3 jobs to be able to maintain, because it's not only one child you're going to put through. So you have to think of your own health, of your own life as well, So like my host said a few minutes ago, community college could be the stepping stone into you transferring into another college. Do you know, let me use President Obama again. He went to Hospital College, if I can remember. It starts with OCCI. He went there for 2 years before going into where? Harvard.
Harvard.
Yes, he did. He didn't go straight into Harvard. I read a lot about all these people, how they got there. How did they get there? When I look at their life story, I'm going, oh, okay. It wasn't as though they were just jumping straight into it, and they couldn't afford it at the time. And it was from a single parent. He lived with his grandmother. His father was nowhere at that point in time in terms of the picture in the home. The mother died. So there were things that were going on at that point in time. So in our case, it's not a case of that the parent has died or anything like that. It's just that the money is not crunching. And if the money is not crunching, and you can find an alternative in the meantime for 2 years, why not? Just move on to another college. And once you do very well in a community college, I mean, I've seen someone who actually went from community college into Georgia Tech. That is in Georgia, and it can happen in other states as well.
Yes. Thank you. So the last question, someone says, does everyone get FAFSA?
Oh, yes, everyone. It is means tested. That is the only thing. Everyone, so let me put it this way, everyone can apply, but it is means tested. So you may, I've not seen one yet who has been declined, except you are earning a certain amount of money that is off the cut of FAFSA, because it's a federal grant. It's money from the federal government. So obviously, if it's means tested, they can actually say, we cannot give it to you, or you can apply for maybe one or two other ones that they have. It's means tested, and it could be reduced. So you may not get the maximum. That's what we found out. You may not get the maximum, it could be reduced, and that's how much they can give you. And they send it straight to the school that you have actually made shown an interest in, that you're going to go. So to an extent, you can all apply. They're not telling you that you shouldn't apply, but whether or not you get it is a different question.
And what you would be awarded would be based on your income, you know, they will look at your tax returns and all of that. And then once they offer you, you can now accept or decline it, depending on whether it works for your family or not.
That's why I said it's means tested. That means it depends on your means. That's what I mean. So if it's means tested, that means it will. I mean, if you're earning 100,000, excuse me, Mr. Aiku, if you're earning 100,000, I advise you apply for FAFSA. It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh.
All right.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much. So again, we have come to the end of today's session. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and do a few minutes of wrap up. So thank you very much, Dr. Mafe, for this enlightening session. As she said, she has shared the slides with me, and I'm going to share with those who are already on our mailing list. If you're not on our mailing list, you've not been receiving email from us, excuse me, please put your email on the in the chat, or just send it to me directly, parentinginitiatives@gmail.com. You know, and then we will send them out in another week or two. I'm going to also research the links that she put there for me, and we're going to compile everything. We stopped in 2020, but before 2020, we had a list of scholarships and everything. Mostly, some of them I would say 60% of it were related to Georgia, but there were also others from other parts of the country that we shared with parents, you know, at this time of the year, knowing that this is the season. So if you're on the email list, you would get it from us. If you're not, please email parentinginitiatives@gmail.com or put your email in the chat, and we'll send that out to you. We are happy to do this for us. And if you would like someone to walk you through, feel free to reach out to me, email me, or message me on one of our social media platforms, and we will reach out to you. We have people that are in the school system. We have people like Dr. Mafe. We have people like Miss Quadri. You know, she's here. She's on the line. She's on the chat. She was the one asking about graduates, whatever. I don't know why she's asking at this point when she's wrapping up her PhD. Go find money, girl. Anyway, find money somewhere else. You know. Anyway, so we have people who can walk you through the process. We have parents who have gone through this journey. I myself have taken 2 children through this journey. Both of them had the private school experience. One switched from a private school to a public school eventually. So I have both public school and private school experience. I'll be glad to walk you through. Again, we want you to thrive. We want your child to thrive. We want to come alongside you and help you, navigate the system, get the best opportunities that you can possibly get. And we know that, our children will continue to soar and, excel out there as we partner with one another, as we support one another, as we encourage one another. That is the sole purpose of PRI. So again, we want to say thank you. Continue to follow us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, which is now X. On YouTube, we have loads and loads of information on YouTube and Instagram. And of course, send us an email, parentinginitiatives@gmail.com. We hope we can see you, or we will see you at our next event. God bless you. Have
Also,
a fantastic weekend. Okay.
That's one thing. I'm not sure whether I actually mentioned it. Another one that's, that could also be very helpful for you not to pay too much money in college for most of the thing is dual enrollment. Many schools actually do that. So while they're in college, they're actually earning college credits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can ask your what do you call them? Your counselors about it, and it's done during the school. So they don't have to do it outside the school. It's done during the instruction in the school. So they'll go to another center to do that, but they're actually getting credits before they get into the college. That's another way.
Yes, dual enrollments, absolutely. So again, thank you, everyone. Have a nice afternoon and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We look forward to seeing you sometimes in October. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.